Hey everyone, I know you've heard about Andrew Yang and the Forward Party, and I'm here to tell you actually what it is. It's probably not what you've heard. What we're going to do is actually solve the problems that are literally driving us crazy. What am I talking about? Right now, we have this two-sided duopoly that's just clashing and clashing, and you may love one side more than the other, but you have to face facts that this system is not working. Unfortunately, the polarization is reaching record highs to a point where people can't be in the same room as family members. We're seeing literal violence erupt, and it's going to get worse, not better. We're getting more and more polarized, in large part because the incentives of our political system, our media, and social media all are driving us against each other and making us feel like other Americans are our mortal enemies. 22% of Americans used to cross party lines when it came to national elections. That's down to 7% today. People aren't really appealing to the middle as much because that's not how you're going to win. You're going to win by appealing to the base. This has become a country where partisanship is the most acceptable, most commonplace form of prejudice. Now, people have been feeling these problems getting worse and worse over the last number of years, to the point where now 57% of Americans say they want a third party. 60% say that both parties are out of touch. Right now, people who say they're independents essentially outnumber registered Democrats or Republicans 2-1. Imagine if you were an entrepreneur and you arrived on a marketplace and there were two companies and more than 50% of people wanted a new alternative. Wouldn't you want to create that alternative? Now, why are we feeling this stuck? Again, Congress has a 28% national approval rating. What's the re-election rate for individual members of Congress? 92%. Think about that for a second. 3 out of 4 Americans don't like what Congress is doing, but more than 9 out of 10 are going to be set up to win re-election again and again. And the reason for that is we have structural incentives, and this is where the math comes in, where right now 83% of congressional districts are safely Democratic or safely Republican. So if you are a member of Congress, your big concern is not trying to win a general election. It's to win a primary and avoid getting challenged in the primary. You're not catering to the 51% of voters that you imagine you need. You're catering to the most extreme 10 to 20%, which is why we're pitted against each other, why you see politicians refusing to compromise, because they know if they do compromise, they're more likely to get challenged and lose their seat than if they stay on their party line and nothing gets done. So if you put reasonable people into this system of incentives, they'll actually become more unreasonable over time. This probably reminds you of America's political system. So how are we going to make this happen? For real. I could give an inspirational speech, but we know that would do absolutely nothing. That's political speak. I'm a problem solver, and if you want to solve the problem, here's how we do it. The Forward Party has some very straightforward tenets. Number 1, open primaries and ranked choice voting so that you actually can have political dynamism and different points of view. We changed the primary system from the closed party primaries to open primaries and ranked choice voting. This would immediately make our political figures more rational because they'd have to cater to 51% of us rather than the most extreme 20% on either side. One state has already done this, Alaska, and there are 24 other states where you can do this with ballot initiatives. Universal basic income, human-centered economy, fact-based governance, modern and effective government, systems that actually work, but also grace and tolerance. We're not out to demonize or villainize anyone. We love our fellow Americans. What we have a problem with is a system that's going to turn us against each other. What we're in the midst of right now is one of the worst nightmares of our founding fathers. They hated political parties. There's nothing in the Constitution about any political party. And the duopoly would be their worst nightmare come to life, because what they would have seen is factions that just clash over and over again and are susceptible to bad leadership. If you look at democracies around the world, how many parties do they have? 5, 7, 8, 18. Then you'd have shifting coalitions, people would come together, need to get things done. And by the way, if one of the parties succumbed to bad leadership, you'd be like, well, we've got another 17. That's how you make a strong system that's actually responsive to the needs of our time. This duopoly is going to kill us. We can all tell. It's one of the reasons why so many people have checked out of politics. But what I'm asking is the people who are sick of it to come together and solve the problem with me, with us. That is the Forward Party. It's an inclusive movement. You can be a registered Democrat, Republican, Independent. Forward Democrats, welcome. Forward Republicans, welcome. Forward Independents. Let's get it done. And let's make it so that we can actually feel good about ourselves, our country, our family members, and our future. It's not going to fix itself. The system won't allow it. It's the system itself that needs to change, and we can change it together.